whole month, we have the opportunity to present to you and let you become more aware of things that are happening. And today, we're going to talk about 5 loaves. And I love the image that Scripture gives us of Jesus, okay? Especially in the Gospels, of Jesus and his interaction, especially his interaction with people, his interaction with the poor, the oppressed, the neglected, those who felt helpless, right? The ones that the society seemed to kind of cast out, and really they were neglected, oppressed, and because of society in a lot of ways. I love the image where Jesus goes and he touches them and he sits with them and he eats with them, right? And he gives them special attention. And these are probably people who felt like they weren't worth anything or they didn't matter. And Jesus says, wait a minute, no. You matter. You matter. And I look at those images, and for me, I think those images are very powerful. I think that they're very powerful, very moving, and they're instructive for us as well. And so that's really what 5 loaves means to me. For me, 5 loaves is that way that we can continue to present that same image that Jesus presented. We can present that image to the world today, to people who do feel helpless, maybe oppressed, poor, those who maybe feel like they don't matter. And that's what 5 loaves is. And today you're going to have the opportunity to hear more about 5 loaves. And so if you will, join me in welcoming Audrey Wallace, the director of 5 Loaves, to the stage with me. All right. So for those of you who may not be aware, Audrey, would you give us a brief summary of 5 Loaves, what it is, and how it got started?
A little more than 2 years ago now, I was over benevolence here, and people started calling the church and needing food. They were in the neighborhood, and we didn't have a pantry, so we'd just send out emails and say, hey, can y'all bring food? And everybody bring food, and then I'd go deliver it. Yeah, it was good. We had about 4 families that did it on a regular basis. I thought, man, we need, a few little shelves to put in there. So we hopped over at the ministry house, and they said, okay, you can have these 6 little shelves because the quilting women have all this. They have that room. Then there's the library, and the Boy Scouts have those 2 shelves. The youth are using this ping pong table. I mean, everybody was in that room. And I said, okay, I'll take it. So we got canned goods, and then when we had people that needed food, then we just sent out and we went and got fresh fruit or milk or vegetables or meat or whatever we needed, and I just got canned goods and then went and delivered it. Little by little, it just started growing. We kicked the youth out. Then the Boy Scouts. No, we didn't really. Yes, then the books went, okay.
Yes, took over that house.
Yeah. Anyway, we have the whole entire room. Now we have the whole entire house, except for the quilting women. Don't touch that room. Don't touch that room. They got it perfect set up for them, and it's a great setup. It's good. But anyway, I have seen God bless this ministry over and over and over again. And when I listen, I know. When I don't listen is when I think, oh, I got this. And God goes, no, that's not what I'm saying. So I really have to step back and go, okay, it's you, God. What do you want me to do?
So let's talk a little bit about how 5 Loaves has progressed, maybe over the years, but specific attention to this last year.
Okay. Well, we stepped out and we got our 501c3. We're a nonprofit, which wasn't anything that I planned on doing at first. We are part of North Texas Food Bank, which is way not what I was planning on doing. I went kicking and screaming, and then finally I went, okay, fine, I'll do it. And that's been great. It's been really good. We've had so many partners that have partnered with us. And the reason I have my notes up here is because I'm not going to read every one of them, because when I tell you, there's 8 churches, 10 other pantry or organizations that partner with us, 5 clubs, 6 schools, 15 businesses. That's a lot. And that's probably just the tip of, but I tried to write down everyone that's ever partnered with us or come along, and it's a lot that we have partners, and it may be, that they've just give us a one-time donation, or it may be like the Lions Club that give us a quarterly check now. God is really blessing this ministry, and I just have to, I'm just listen and go with it. Somebody asked me the other day, how did you know what to do? I said, I didn't. This was a learning process here. Like,
They think I'm joking whenever I say she don't know what she's doing. She really doesn't. And it's amazing. It really is.
It truly is, because I got to thinking about that, and I sat back and I thought, how did I know how to do that? I didn't know. Now, had I been involved with other pantries and other ministries, yes, but not on this aspect. It was more on the lines of I did some fundraising for them. That's way different from actually running a pantry and knowing what to do and how to do it. So it's been a step by step, and I listen, and I just step out there in faith that God's going to take care of it, and He does.
Talk about just for a moment here, your volunteers, because I know I go there, every Tuesday and Thursday now, it's almost impossible to get in and out of our parking lot. And I see, obviously we have our regulars here who volunteer, but talk about where some of these other people are coming from. I mean, there are people who, when you meet them, you would have sworn that they were there from the very beginning, like the way they talk and the way they're interacting with Five Loaves and with the people there. These aren't just people who showed up one day, or that day is what I'm trying to say. They seem like they've been there for a while. So where are these volunteers coming from?
Well, they're actually coming from all over. First started out as, volunteers from our congregation, and then I started posting things on Facebook, and people message me, or somebody else would post something, and they go, hey, I'm thinking about, volunteering. They message me, when can I come volunteer? Or, hey, I've got a Girl Scout troop, and I'd love to come and help you guys. Or I've got of course, the charter here, the Boy Scouts, they do, a food drive for us. But they just from all, from other congregations they come. The Methodist Church, the Baptist Church, the Latter-day Saints. I mean, they come from all over, because when you're doing God's work, people just get involved, and they want to be involved, and they're excited to see the ministry and how it's progressing. And it truly is a ministry. It's not just a food pantry now. It's way not just a food pantry.
Yeah. I'll tell you guys, I showed up one Saturday. We were actually here watching a demonstration with a K-9 unit, which was really cool, by the way. And when we went back to the office, there was a school bus, and this is where, I can't forget the coach's name, but he has like a little ministry of his own within the school system where he helps kids learn how to basically function as adults, get out on their own, do simple things like be able to sign their name, set up checking accounts, find a job, things like that, And sitting there talking to him, and I told him, I said, man, it's like you have your own little ministry. And he's like, yeah. And then being able to step back and see how, okay, because Five Loaves is more than just a pantry. It's way bigger than that. But seeing how it really is a ministry and how it's interacting with other ministries, and you take a step back and you see how God is working throughout all of this. So it's not just Five Loaves. Five Loaves is a part of the bigger picture here, where there's so many different things that are happening that are intersecting. It's really neat. It's really cool. So we want details, all right? Give us some details about how have you seen God work through this, okay? We talk about it a lot. I mean, I'm telling you guys, you just got to be there. It's one of those things. But let's talk about that. Let's share a few things that you've seen, how God has worked in all that. I'm telling you, she went kicking and screaming the whole way to get it to where it is at now. She refused to do several things that she did not want to do. She absolutely did not want to do them at all. And then all of a sudden, I'm telling you, it's like this woman was bipolar, because I didn't mean it that way, but
Yes, you did.
okay. So, but she would kick and scream and not want to take a step. And it was like she was saying, no, 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 no. And then all of a sudden she's coming in, I'm doing it. And I would just walk away and chuckle. And then all of a sudden this massive door would be opening, and you talk about blessing, you talk about God, you see, it would just flood. It would just flood. And when you open that door, it just kept coming, and it just kept coming, and it just kept coming. And it's quite amazing. So tell us, let's talk about that. Tell us some of those secrets here.
Secrets. Okay. One of the things is we had a few volunteers that came over from the Latter-day Saints, and they are, oh man, they're so sweet. The ladies that came over, I think one of them came and did some quilting, or a couple of them came and did some quilting with our ladies, and they would volunteer at the pantry, and I got to know them, and they showed me how to get on their site, and I could put on, it's called Just Serve, and I could put information on there, and that would get me some volunteers if I needed it. And I thought, oh, this is really cool, and so we just kind of backwards and forth, being friends, talking different things, and they said, because you don't get to where I'm fixing to tell you without that relationship with them. So this past month, North Texas Food Bank hasn't been getting the food in that we needed, nor any of the pantries needed, because of the Hurricane Harvey that happened. And of course, they're not knowing this. They don't know this. And they came to me and they said, we want to recommend you for the Bishop's Storehouse. And I was like, great. What's the Bishop's Storehouse? And they said, well, it's a huge pantry that you can go to, and they're going to let you get $1,000 worth of food. And I went, wow, that's great. So I literally got to order the food, because I knew what I needed, and then they placed the order, and it got approved, and we went down there and picked it up. They just set the pallet on the truck, and I was like, wow. I said, I got to tour this place, and they said, sure, we'll let you. It's amazing, amazing, and it's by these grain silos, and of course, yep, it's full of grain, because I was like, are they full of grain? Yep, they're full of grain. They have them all over the United States, all over the place, and these Bishop Storehouses and these grain things that are full of grain. It was just, that was nothing but God. I can tell you that that's amazing, and that really got us through last month, along with our, the donations that people bring in and things like that. But there's so many amazing things. I started, some of you may or may not know, but for some reason, I'm a magnet for homeless people. I don't know. I mean, it just happens. And I think part of it started because we were living at the park at East Fork, but now the Wiley Police Department, they just bring them to me. So it's true.
That's cool.
It's true. And I'm okay with that. But what amazes me is that they need things, and they need other people, and they need to be involved, and of course they need all those things. And I think, we need some kind of support group that they can just come and feel welcome, and we'll feed them, and it sounded all good, and I was like, yeah, well, that's about it, because I'm not a I can't teach that. I'm not qualified to do that. I could just, here you go. I can feed them. I can do that because I can sort of cook. And did somebody say that?
I think somebody said something.
I think somebody said
didn't hear
something.
it, yeah.
I know
But
Randall's over there.
It came from over here, so you're good.
But so I told my son, and I got to tell you the biggest blessing. Our youngest son, Scott, and he's really not that young anymore, but I think he's your age, Adam.
What does that say about you?
Anyway, he's been in and out of jail and in and out of prison for 16 years, and he was on drugs and off of drugs and dealing drugs, and about 3 years ago he was in prison, and he decided his life. He asked God to take that desire to do those drugs away, and we didn't know it because he was in prison. He didn't want to have anything to do with us. We didn't see him, and he gave his life to Christ, and he started a ministry in prison. And when he left, he was doing a Bible study with about 21 people, and he had extensively studied the Bible while he was in jail. Of course, he was brought up in the church, so he knew anyway, but still. And so he got out, and he called his dad, which was unusual. And he said, "Your prodigal son wants to come home." Yeah. And so he did. And he's been doing great ever since. God has just used him. We spent many days, every day we would go backwards and forth with different Bible verses, and he would send them to me, and I said, yeah, but what do we think about this? And he'll go, well, we're just backwards and forth, and I said, he's the one that's going to lead this group. So I said, hey, what do you think about doing a group? Because some of these people from the support group are on probation or out of jail, and I said, what do you think about doing that? He goes, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Maybe this winter we'll do that. I said, okay. So kept on going for a month or two, and I was like, yeah, now's the time. So I invited everybody, planned the dinner, and I said, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to start Sunday. And I said, can you come lead the group? He said, sure. And then he told me later, he goes, I really didn't want to do it. I said, of course you didn't. He's doing a great job. Adam come and spoke, shared his story with the group, and they're bonding together, and it's even helped me to grow. It's amazing. God just doesn't help me to help them. He's helping me at the same time, which is huge. And so that's just one more blessing. So now there's a support group that meets on Sunday nights, and we feed them, and they get excited about coming, and it's very laid back. Sometimes it goes to a Bible study, and sometimes it's just, my week's been terrible. Let me tell you what it's been like. It's just phenomenal, the different things that have happened. I've met some counselors through the Kiwanis Club, and she talks about she needs to, well, if I start this is going to go to a vision, so maybe I'm not. Woo!
It's all interconnected, yeah.
But
there are lots of things that are falling into place. Everything
Yeah.
from, some of you have heard the stories about how the deep freezer, the walk-in deep freezer came about. Everything from that to the coffee, to the support group, which is a really neat little group. It's the first group that I've seen develop in this way, in this fashion, very organically. It's pretty neat, and I think that this is one of those things that if you're not careful, you'll miss it, and you won't see how God is working through this. And it is an amazing opportunity. And the things that we experience, being behind the scenes, quote unquote, shouldn't be behind the scenes, but you understand what that means. But being involved in it aren't things that are just limited to us. It's things that everybody can experience. But all we have to do is, I see Five Loaves as an amazing opportunity that God has literally put in our laps. And you have this amazing potential to witness how God is working and moving in this community specifically. Okay, but that's all great. Well, let's talk about some of the challenges that you face, because ministry is ugly and it's messy, and it's not for everybody. But what are some of the challenges that you face in doing this?
Well, sometimes it is stressful. Sometimes I'm at a loss of what to do. Sometimes I just get so overwhelmed myself that I'm exhausted, literally, mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. I was thinking about it last night, and I'm like, I literally am doing something with a pantry every day of the week. When we started this, I'd only tended to do it for 6 months, and Randall and I were going to do some traveling, and in my mind, I thought Nate was going to take it over. Oops. But that was just in my mind. And, of course, we haven't done much traveling. My husband's he's very supportive, very, very supportive of me. And he knows that this is my ministry and this is what God's called me to do. And, I couldn't do it without him. But it's a challenge sometimes, day to day. Even volunteers, even though we have a lot of volunteers, sometimes, the scheduling doesn't work out. And it's just like last Thursday. And this is my own fault. I didn't have anybody scheduled to work. I don't know what I was thinking, except for Kimberly and me. So I called in at the last minute somebody that I knew would come, and thank goodness they did. We had 27 families that morning. That's a lot. We had 60 families this past week, 60. Every week we're growing with at least 3 to 5 new families. Now, they don't all come at the same time. They don't always come every week. Sometimes you won't see them for a couple of weeks. Sometimes you won't see them for a couple of months. And then they'll be back because something happened, or so it's a challenge. What do you do when somebody needs something and you just can't help them? I just get so frustrated when I can't do something for someone and I know that they need it. I got to go back to when the policeman, Wiley Police, brought the lady to me, and she was homeless, and he just brought her to the pantry to get food. And because he could have taken her to Wiley, but she was homeless, so she can't just have any food because she didn't have a way to cook it. Plus, she had several things and she had several allergies that she couldn't eat just anything. So she was able to go into our pantry and actually pick her own food out. And so I had a conversation with that officer, and I said, what are you going to, do with her? And he said, take her back to the station and let her out. Well, to me, that's not an option, because they don't have the resources. There's no resources there. And somebody suggested that I call the Baptist Church in Wiley, because they are huge, but they don't have any resources. They said, yes, we met her this morning, we fed her breakfast, but we just don't have the resources. No one has the resources to put a homeless person up, to help that homeless person out of the situation that they're in. But doing nothing wasn't an option for me. I said, okay, take her back to the station. I'll pick her up in an hour. He said, okay. Because I called first around. There's no, Plano or Garland or even, the area. No one has room. All the shelters are full. So I went and I picked her up. We went, and you might have seen an email looking for a tent. I needed it, like right then. So I purchased a tent and a blow-up mattress, a sleeping bag. We got her, a few necessities that she needed. And I called my friend, and there's a reason why I've been at the Corps of Engineers, because she's works at the Corps of Engineers. And of course, this lady had lost her license, and she had no license, no Social Security card, nothing. Her purse had been stolen. And of course, I talked to the police officer, and I said, I know you've run her driver's license number, and I'm okay, right? He said, yes, you're good. You're fine. She's fine. So I wasn't worried, that anything would happen anyway, obviously, if we can walk down the street, oblivious. But, she began to tell me her story a little bit at a time, and she needed to go to the laundromat and wash the few clothes that she did have, and she told me things, and she said, I've never shared with anybody. She said, evidently, she felt comfortable enough with me to share. And sometimes things that people share with me tend to stick with me, and I play them over in my head, and I'm like, it's overwhelming sometimes. But anyway, so there are obstacles that we face, and just the day-to-day things, the resources that we need to take care of people that come, to us. We have another gentleman that's homeless, and Mike's been taking him backwards and forth to classes. When they're out of jail and on probation, there's certain classes that they need to have and they're required to have. And he's trying to do that because he doesn't want to end up back in jail. And but when you don't have a driver's license, you don't have a vehicle, there's so many things. There's so many resources that people need to be able to do. They have to rely on someone that takes them.
So Five Loaves is obviously a huge part of your life, and it's very, it can be very stressful. Things can get messy, especially when you can't, do all that you want to do. But do you ever just sit there and just kind of chuckle at yourself because this is what you do? Right? Yeah, that's pretty exciting, isn't it? So let's talk about vision. Let's talk about, where do you see Five Loaves going? Dream a little bit for us.
Okay. Dreaming I can do. For quite a while now, and on the coffee you'll see a lighthouse, and there's a reason for that lighthouse, and actually Marissa drew the original lighthouse when she was in 3rd grade, and I gave them the picture of that lighthouse, and I said, I want a lighthouse. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. And they took it and made it similar. And Amy's daughter came up with the logo. But I asked my son, I said, when you were on the street, and I said, and you weren't ready to come back to God, but you needed a little help, what do you need? What did you need? And he said, I needed sometimes just a place that I could go to take a shower, wash my clothes, get a hot meal. He said, and maybe get a night's sleep without looking over my shoulder. I said, yeah, that's kind of what I've been thinking too. I said, I see that. I see that. But now it's even grown from that. So that's truly what I envision the lighthouse being, is a place where people can come, and maybe the pantry's there, and maybe there's a coffee shop, and it's run by our kids that come from the high school or from Achieve Academy that are special needs, and they've learned how to grind coffee and bag it up, and maybe they have a coffee place there, and that people would come and just sit and socialize, because you can't just go, yep, that's that place over there, and that you don't want to go in there, because that's where homeless people or people that needy hang out over there. Nope, gotta mingle them. So maybe there's a coffee shop in there. Maybe there's a kitchen where they can get a hot meal. What about a place they could take a shower? I'm telling you, no one, occasionally, you just come up with things that you need for me to do. But I was blessed when you asked me to do the youth to go to Our Calling, because I had already envisioned this, and Our Calling is exactly like I envision the lighthouse being, with a few more. They don't house anybody. You can't spend the night there. But it's a huge place. They come in, they can get breakfast, they can get a shower, they can get their clothes washed, they can request toiletry items, clothing if they need socks, underwear, another set of clothes. They can get a hot lunch. They can sit around and play games, talk to one another. They can sign up for Bible studies. They can get resources so they can get their driver's license and their Social Security cards. They get services if they need it for medical. If they need to go, a doctor, there's Parkland comes down in a bus and services them. They can have one-on-one counseling if they need it. And then at the end of the day, of course, then they have to leave there, and so they either go back to a shelter or out on the street again. I envision all that, but a place if you really need it to get a night's sleep and then go on. Now you say, oh, that's huge. Well, it is. It is that's a big deal. But talking to other pantries, there's 3 in Wiley, 2 in Garland, and that I talk to on a regular weekly basis. And they simply don't have the resources to do anything. They would love to. Now I'm the newbie, because we've only been around 2 years. The others have been around, 20 plus years. And so I'm thinking, well, I certainly couldn't do that just on 2 years. I mean, that's a lot. But God can. So, Yeah, there's nothing he can do. He can do all, but nothing that he can or can't do. So that's kind of my vision. Yeah, it's going to take money. It's going to take a lot of volunteers. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of planning. It's just, I wouldn't think, I got to tell you this because I just looked at Doug and it made me think about it. This goes to the coffee. And the coffee came about, and I encouraged other ministers from other churches to come and tour the pantry and learn what we're about. And so George from the Lakes came over, and him and his wife were touring the pantry. And we were going through it, and I was showing them the different things, and we stopped. The Lions Club's made me a really nice area where I can bag and grind the coffee, and of course, with stainless steel tables, and we're talking about it. And I'm not really, usually I kind of can read people pretty well, and him and his wife are just kind of like listening and looking, and and I'm thinking, well, are they like understanding? Are they, I can't tell if they're, excited. If they, all of a sudden, George gets a smile on his face, and I'm thinking, oh, he must like coffee. He just starts grinning, and he goes, "You need a roaster?" And I went, "Excuse me?" He said, "You need a coffee roaster." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "Because we get our coffee roasted now, but it would mean additional money for the pantry if we can roast our own coffee." And I said, "Yes." He goes, "Okay, well, we've got a coffee roaster. We don't use it anymore." Who has a coffee roaster in their building they don't use anymore? And a month or so before that, Doug Preby says, "Well, I have a trailer if you ever need it." And he said, "I could even, donate to 5 Loaves, but or whatever you need. If you need a trailer, it's there for you." And I said, "Well, Doug, I don't need a trailer, Doug." I said, "Everything we pick up with our truck, or if it's too much, then I just borrow the church's, trailer and use it." And so George goes out to the land where the roaster's stored, and he calls me. He goes, "Oh, I have bad news." And I'm thinking, "Oh, what happened?" He goes, "I got good news and bad news." I said, "Okay, lay it on me. I don't care what you give me first." He goes, "Well, the roaster is still in good shape." So, well, that's good news. He goes, "The trailer is toast." And I went, "Oh." He goes, "So we're not going to be able to do anything unless we have a trailer." And I went, ding, ding, ding. So we need a trailer, Doug. So Doug provided us with a trailer. Now we have to get the roaster and the trailer together, and then we'll be good to go. But that was just a blessing that just God just takes care of those things just like that, and it's there, and that wasn't part of it. But it is part of a vision because we haven't gotten the roaster and the trailer together yet. We'll start roasting, but. That's just one of the many visions that I have that God's placed on my heart to do.
So obviously, if you want to volunteer, you can come talk to Audrey. She'll put you to work. Obviously, she's definitely has enough things to do and get people to do. But for right now, what I want to ask is, if you volunteer with 5 Loaves on a weekly basis, will you raise your hands? Will you come on up here? Come on up here. You volunteer for 5 Loaves. Come on up here. I want you guys to stand up right here. If you're a part of the board, 5 Loaves, if you'll come up here as well. Yeah, I won't bite. It's okay. I'm not even sweaty today, so we're good. You guys just come stand up here. I want to pray over you. Y'all don't listen to instructions very well, do y'all? I said stand up here. It's okay. It's okay. I'm just messing with you. So just come on up here. It's all right. Wow. And these are the people you work with. Okay.
I know, right?
I'm just messing with you. These are volunteers that help 5 Loaves do what they do. And so if you want to get more involved with Five Loaves and come join these wonderful people in helping out, make sure you talk to Audrey, okay? And I want to challenge the whole church. I know Audrey is partnering with lots of different organizations, places where we get food and so forth, and the amount of work that Five Loaves does is not something that can be carried by just one organization or one entity or one church. However, I do want to challenge you guys to step up and figure out how can you play a part in this, whether it's just donating money, donating time, or donating more food, okay? They're always in need of food. We do give a list out every week of items that they're looking for that you'll find in the bulletin. It'll be in our emails. Oftentimes this stuff is posted on social media as well. And so when you see that and you're at the grocery store, maybe just pick up a few extra items and bring them on over. They will be used more than likely that week. Okay, that's how fast this turnaround is. And so I want to take a moment, and I want you to join with me in praying over all these volunteers and Audrey and Five Loaves and thanking God for the work that he's doing here. And so, Father, we thank you for these people. We thank you for the work that you're doing through Five Loaves and through the hearts that are presented here, the impact it is making on each life that it serves every day. And I pray that you would continue to richly bless it, use it to your glory. So that the image of Jesus, as he touches, as he sits, as he eats, as he shows attention to those who maybe feel like they're not worthy of anything, may this image continue in this community and beyond. I pray that you would continue to just richly bless all the volunteers who continue to pour their hearts out to provide a service and a need, and to demonstrate that love in whatever way that it is in that moment, in that time. I pray, Father, that the reach of Five Loaves will continue to make such an impact that you're glorified, and that those who are involved in it, may they continue to see how you're working in their lives and the lives of others. And as they serve, Father, continue to challenge them to grow in ways that they wouldn't have otherwise. And so we thank you for this opportunity. We thank you for these people. And we thank you for the vision here of Five Loaves and just how you're using it. And so we give you all the glory. And it's in Jesus that we pray.